Hello friends, it's me Rob back once more from the lair of OmnusI to give a answer out to another topic word for the RPGaDay 2019 for the RPG Brigade. Today is the 22nd of August, which is the 22nd word, and that word is lost. Now, this word topic thing is fun because you can go in a lot of different directions. And I firmly expect a lot of people are going to comment on how to make your players feel lost and how to confuse them and how to misdirect and great stories about what happened when their characters were lost and what they did and if they died or if they survived. I'm going in another direction. My take on Lost is the lessons we can learn from the TV show Lost. Yes. Because I do remember one thing very, very clearly from that show. Not actual details of the show. I didn't watch it. I don't watch TV. But I do remember that at the very end, everyone was outraged by that show. So many people were hanging on that show all the way to the final episode. And then their show ended, and the firestorm began. I can't honestly remember when so many people across so many different social strata got all worked up at the same time over something as trivial as how a TV show ended. Because it wasn't trivial to them. It's just like people who loved the series Mass Effect and hated how their last episode ended. Because the storyline did not fit what they were hoping for, or there was no good storyline that fit what they were hoping for. So outrage happened because we are outrage culture these days. But you can learn from this. You seriously can. The important thing that I learned from it, and again, I didn't see the show and I have no emotional attachment, but I do have friends who watched it, and they tried leading me through the impenetrable amount of details that the game or the show engendered, and they got to the end, and the end had no resolution for all of these subplots and characters, and it left everybody hanging like it was a joke. It was the first half of a two-part ending that never happened. And there were a lot of people who were frankly upset about how that show ended and how all of their expectations weren't met. And I think that's a useful teaching tool. Not just in terms of TV show making, but also in terms of roleplay. Quite honestly. I believe that if most good campaigns have an end. I know you'll hear about people who have the campaign that never ended and they're still playing characters or descendants of characters from, 20 years they've been playing or longer. And that's fine, certainly. But most campaigns have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that end is possibly the most important part. It's what everything has led up to. It's the part where the players finally realize whatever it is they've been trying to do all along, or it's the time when everything has come to a climax and they're going to have to face whatever has been building all along. This is kind of how a traditional role-playing campaign story goes. Not all of them do this, of course. There's lots of different variations and such, but the classic campaign, beginning, middle, and end, with the end being the great climax. Does the party save the world? Does the party recover the MacGuffin? Does the party become a deity themselves? Things like that. And quite honestly, whenever I run a campaign, at the very end of it, I have an entire session set aside for what I call the denouement. The denouement, as far as I know, was first introduced to me through theater. It is the end resolution of a story, and in theater, it's the part where everything is explained, all the loose ends are gathered up and resolved. And I like to do that for my players who have participated in a campaign. My campaigns generally run 2 to 5 years, so I'd say 2 to 3 years. It's been a while since I've done one that's lasted longer than that. So 2 to 3 years. And that's a long time to commit to once a week coming and playing a game. Lately it's been every other week because we've been alternating campaigns, but still that's years of coming in and sitting down and playing. That's, anytime you've been more than 50 sessions, assuming you haven't gone through a stack of characters, when you come to the table after 50 sessions, that character should feel like your most comfortable set of clothes. You should be able to sit down and just slide right into character because you've been doing this for so long. That character is a part of you. And the ending for that character should be something that they will remember just as much as the highlights of that campaign. Because they get to find out how it ends. It's their happily ever after, or maybe it's not a happily ever after. Sometimes you'll have a bad ending where the characters don't make it, and that can kind of suck. But at the same time, if it's memorable, then that's a campaign that you'll still remember. It's still a vital detail. And really, how that is best served, in my opinion, with its own separate session, is you want to take all of the plot hooks that you've dangled, anything anybody has nibbled on, and sometimes the ones they haven't, the ones they've let go in pursuit of other things, because sometimes those things will come back to bite them. As a game master, you want to look back on the campaign and all the interests all the characters had, the NPCs that they've associated with, the tasks that they've had, the defeats that they've had, and the individual successes. It's a time to reflect on what imprint did these characters make on the world, for good or for bad. And it's a time to recognize those things that have happened. I like to go a step further and actually even go on to what's their life like after adventuring. Do they marry well? Do they have children who take an interest, or are their children a constant source of embarrassment or extra stress in their life? Do they actually achieve the goal that they had set, and do they come up with new goals and stay a vibrant part of the world, or do they fade into the background and vanish into myth and legend? These are the appropriate ways, in my mind, of letting the characters have their final hurrah, the thing that cements them into the history of the world, or perhaps doesn't, absolves them from the history of the world. And it lets the players know that I appreciate the time that they've spent, the commitment they've made into making those characters, and playing the people who matter the most in the world that I've created. And helping me to tell their combined story, even if it's a dungeon crawl. If they're retiring in a dungeon after a dungeon crawl, then they may still be a part of the world. If they're a powerful wizard and they retire, well, great, maybe you open a magic academy or a magic shop, and next generation can come and deal with that character or that character's establishment that they set up. If he was a great warrior, maybe he'll set up an academy so the next generation of heroes will come out of that academy. And you have world building, and you have a richness that those players who ran those characters can latch onto and be proud of. It's a much better way than just leaving things dangle and ripping everything out and just saying, okay, we're done. Then you have the lost ending, and that's truly unfortunate. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes you'll have a group implode. Sometimes life happens. But it's always been something I've prided myself on and genuinely trying in any single campaign. No matter if it's a 3-month campaign or if it's something that's stretched across the years, give the players an ending that's worthy of the campaign and worthy of the time they put into those characters, and all of the different hopes and plot lines and things that they've given you, give it back to them with interest. That's the way that it's properly done to end a campaign. And that is what Lost taught me. I hope this is something that you can agree with. And if your campaigns don't have an ending that you really care that much about, well, players do want closure. If they're not going to be playing that character anymore, they'd like to know what happens, at the very least. On a one-shot, that may be different, but for a campaign where your character has done the greatest thing that they will probably ever do, wrap it up. It's just the polite thing to do. So, that's my take on Lost. Probably not the one that a lot of people will do, but I'm happy to do it. But if you enjoyed this little walk through TV history, check out my channel there, OmnusI. I've got plenty more to talk about. Like and subscribe, of course. I'd always appreciate that. And welcome you into the fold of the Omnusians. Until next time, though, tomorrow when I come back, and I will crawl in front of the internet and make another one of these videos for RPGaDay. So thank you very much, and farewell.